Welcome to The Gorgeous Effect. I'm Julie Chanel, and with my co-founder, Cathy Olson, we're about to drop some serious tea on how to create funnels that not only look amazing, but actually convert into customers. It's time to show the world what you've got. Let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Gorgeous Effect. I'm Julie, I'm here with Cathy, and today we're talking about the benefits of having a 30,000 foot view when you've done the thing that you're good at for so long. And we want to specifically talk about this in our areas of expertise. Cathy is a designer, I am a coach, and this is probably going to be really helpful if you are one of those things and you are not appreciating your skill set because you just think that like everybody should know it or you don't think it's that special. And this should also help if you're looking to hire someone, understanding the benefits of hiring someone experienced, whether they cost more or not, and why it's so valuable to have a broader view because of experience. It's a good topic today.
Yeah, so what made me think of it is my EA was kind of making some changes and she was doing some stuff with buttons and she's trying to learn more about the builder. And I was like, it looks good, but you have to left justify this or whatever. And she's like, why? I don't understand. Like, it's not balanced that way. Or, I was just trying to make it centered in the but I'm like, but you were trying to center it to what? The video above it? I'm like, but that whole column was left justified. So you have to left justify the whole column. And she's like, why? And I said, well, like, if you're looking at it from just like, if you're thinking just, you know, 2 feet away, whatever, right? Like, really, if you're too zoomed in, you're going to see the videos here and the paragraphs below it. And so it should be centered on the video, right? But what you're not thinking about is they probably are scrolling and they didn't just watch the video and then they're reading it. They're probably scrolling first. And so they're actually going to see it like, headline, paragraph, video, paragraph. And in that case, if you're looking at the bigger picture, it should be left justified so it balances the whole section and not just right above it. So this got me thinking, this is the difference between a designer who's been designing for like 5 years or maybe even self-taught versus like me who's been designing for almost freaking 30 years at this point and who was taught these like here, think of things in sections and like think of the utility over like what came before it and after it. And so I'm seeing it from a much bigger picture of whereas like if you're just looking at that one section you would think okay I'm just going to make this one section good but you're not like seeing the bigger picture but I really think that takes experience and it's hard it's actually really hard to teach. It took me like 20 minutes to explain why it should be left justified because it's all experience, right? So it's a really good example and I'm sure you have examples in in
Yeah,
what
in
you're doing
coaching.
with in coaching, yeah.
Because, you know, first of all, when you hire a coach and they're really expensive and then there's another coach that's not as expensive, you might be like, well, they're both going to give me decent strategic advice. But then you've got one coach who's been doing it for, 10, 12 years, has thousands and thousands of hours, and then you have one that doesn't have that same experience. You are paying for the vantage point of seeing like, I mean, at this point, I've done 4,000 audits. I've seen so many sales pages, or webinars or what have you, and I'm going to understand nuances that a beginner coach is just going to miss. It's the same reason why you think AI is an expert coach because you're not an expert at the field, but once you're an expert at the field and you see AI's advice, you're like, no, that's not the right advice for that particular moment. And I, so my coaching gets more valuable as every year goes on, and I do more and more audits, and I'm able to see. And I think that there are a lot of people that undersell themselves because they don't recognize the value in experience and they don't see how they're making all those nuanced changes like design, copy, coaching, business coaching, ads, even like ads, especially and they just are charging for the hour instead of charging for the experience. Um, and you can make so many mistakes that you don't realize you're making when you have someone that's coaching you or teaching you that is pretty new. I'm
Yeah.
I'm feeling this hard with the sheep right now, man, as a sheep farmer, because I am not an expert.
Oh, no, that totally makes sense. It's almost like when you're training, an AI or something, and it's like the more info you give it, the better picture it has. Like it actually has more info and more things to pull on. And more, even like more scenarios, right? Of like, okay, well, in this scenario, I would do this, but in this scenario, I would do this because of this. And that's kind of how our brains are. And I think you're absolutely right. I also think sometimes we don't lean enough on our experience in other places. Because I don't think it all, your experience has to be all linear of like, okay, this is the exact coaching experience. You could be like, well, I tried this other thing in my other life and here's why this doesn't work. Like you can glean all of these ideas from so many areas, not just the one. And so I like for people to take all of their experience, that their whole life, like especially if you're like, and you're like midlife and plus, you have so much experience you can pull from. Even if you don't think it's relevant, it totally is.
Yeah, it's the curse of genius for sure. You don't, if I'm just going to use the sheep example, right? Because for me, I'm new to sheep. I've only had sheep for 6 months. Every single thing that happens in that barn is brand new to me. I have no point of reference. I have no vantage point. I don't know if that's like some contagious, horrible disease or if it's just, whatever, regurgitated cud that doesn't matter. Everything is new. Well, you get someone like my mentor, Tammy, and you get her in the barn, and she has seen literally everything. And so she is able to immediately sort of triage what's important and what's not. And I think that if you are looking to hire a coach, looking to hire a designer, and you're not quite understanding why the experienced designer or coach or whatever is costing more, they are able to pick out what's important faster. And I think that was the example that you were showing with Trish is like she was sort of hyper focused, and you were like, no, 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 you have to keep this whole big picture in mind, which is one of the advantages of having someone experienced in your corner.
Yeah, or even just having a mentor, auditing or looking and telling you like how to, because the only way for you to get that advice is to get that advice, without having to do it yourself and be doing it for 10 years, 15 years, whatever,
Exactly. Yeah.
is like what you've done with your, sheep Sherpa, right? Of like, hey, like tell me what it is, like tell me what you know and tell me the rules and so that I can know like for the future so I don't have to go through it.
Yeah, and but the funny thing is, and this is why I think having coaching and support is so helpful, even when you are on a tool like FG Funnels and you have access to the support team, they'll be able to rank it in importance because even if I read all the books and even if she tells me all of the things, it does not substitute what happens when you're right there in the field and something is wrong and you're trying to figure out how urgent or important is this. And I guess that's also the takeaway I want to have here is if you're listening to this and you have a depth of experience, and I don't care what field it's in, but you've got thousands of hours or years of experience, and you are not valuing that because you are thinking, well, it still takes me an hour just like it takes anybody else an hour. That's where you need to have a kind of a come to Jesus moment about how you price and how you position yourself because you're carrying wisdom that cannot be replicated by AI or by a beginner. And that's worth something.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about how to sell this, I would just brainstorm and just think of what are all the things that I look at from a, 30,000-foot view that other people wouldn't because of my experience and write that stuff down and then use it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, obviously, if you need support, if you need expert support in marketing, automation, education, we hope that you come hang out with us. We've got a couple ways to do that. Obviously, you can get our software at fgfunnels.com. We've got an amazing support team. But if you also want to learn what is going on in marketing and get sort of your up to the minute marketing chops, we have a membership. You can go to fg-society.com. It's $67 a month. We have something going on at least 3 to 4 times a month, and it's all up to the minute training on stuff that's happening in marketing. So, all right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Hey, gorgeous. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And if you're thinking, okay, but what now? We've got you. So just for listening today, we want to give you a gift. Head over to learngorgeous.com. We're going to grab some free resources, free trainings, this month's specials, and everything you need to keep going. Until next time, make it gorgeous.